Namaste, everyone. So I have a user who's asked me the following. Could you make a video or short on the Ghilji Pashtuns? How much Turkic ancestry do they have? So I'll tell you who these people are. The Ghilji are a prominent Pashtun tribal group primarily found in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and parts of Iran. They're one of the major Pashtun tribes, and their history is closely linked with the wider Pashtun ethnic identity, which is traditionally considered to be Indo-Iranian, specifically of ancient Aryan stock. There's this term Pakhta, which is mentioned in the Vedas, specifically in the Rig Veda. It's used to refer to a group of people living in the region that corresponds to modern-day Afghanistan. The Vedic Pakhtas were part of the broader ancient Vedic world, which spanned across a large area from the Indian subcontinent to parts of Central Asia, including what is now Afghanistan. In the Vedic texts, the Pakhtas are listed as one of the tribes, along with other groups like the Druhyus and Bharatas, mentioned in the hymns, often in the context of conflicts or alliances between these tribes. The term Pakhta in these texts is believed to be an early reference to the ancestors of the Pashtun people who are considered to have inhabited this region. Over time, the term evolved into Pashtun or Pakhtun in the native languages of the region, notably Pashto, and it's still used to identify the ethnic group today. The Vedic connection reflects the long-standing presence of these people in the region, even as their identity and culture developed over thousands of years. That being said, the Ghilji variant of this people is primarily located in the heartland of eastern Afghanistan, though their influence extends to parts of Pakistan as well. Their historical and cultural center is primarily in the southeastern region of Afghanistan. These areas, particularly in the eastern and southern parts of the country, are where the Ghilji tribe has historically been most concentrated. Paktia and Paktika, in particular, are key Ghilji strongholds. In Pakistan, the Ghilji have a notable presence, especially in areas near the border with Afghanistan. They can be found in the KPK, particularly in the southern regions like Tank and Dera Ismail Khan, and also in Baluchistan, especially in areas like Quetta and Chaman, which are close to the Afghan border. These regions in both Afghanistan and Pakistan form the core of the Ghilji's geographic and cultural influence. The tribe has spread out due to historical migrations, military movements, and regional conflicts, but these provinces are considered their traditional heartlands. Regarding their Turkic ancestry, the Pashtuns, including the Ghilji, are believed to have some level of Turkic genetic influence due to historical interactions, invasions, and migrations from Turkic groups such as the Ghaznavids, Seljuks, and later the Timurids. However, this Turkic influence is generally considered to be more cultural and political rather than a dominant genetic component. While some studies suggest that Pashtuns may have a minor component of Turkic ancestry, their primary genetic background is still largely Indo-Aryan and Iranian. Over the centuries, various Turkic rulers, soldiers, and mercenaries have intermixed with the Pashtuns, particularly during periods of Turkic dominance in the region. However, it's important to note that the Ghilji's Turkic ancestry is likely a relatively small proportion of their overall genetic makeup compared to their more dominant Pashtun and Indo-Aryan heritage. Genetic studies on Pashtun groups in general indicate that their ancestry is predominantly South Asian, with significant elements of Central Asian and Iranian genetic influence, but they do not display a significant or overwhelming Turkic genetic signature. Pashtun genetics, particularly for those south of the Durand Line, show more South Asian influence, which can be attributed to the geographic and cultural proximity to the Indian subcontinent. However, when looking at Pashtuns north of the Durand Line, especially those in areas like the Ghilji's primary homeland in eastern Afghanistan, the genetic makeup's more reflective of their ancient Iranian farmer origins. The Pashtuns, including the Ghilji, are often considered to have a mixed heritage rooted in the ancient Iranian plateau, with substantial contributions from the Indo-Aryan population. In the case of the Ghilji, their Iranian farmer ancestry is more apparent, reflecting the deep historical ties to the Iranian world, which stretches back to pre-Islamic times. The Turkic influence is less pronounced. The Turkic influence is less pronounced in their genetic makeup when compared to their Iranian origins, though it still exists as a result of historical interactions and conquests in the region. So for Pashtuns, and particularly the Ghilji north of the Durand Line, the Iranian genetic components remains more dominant, with some minor influences from Turkic and South Asian ancestry due to various historical migrations and invasions. While there isn't a precise, universally agreed upon percentage for the Turkic ancestry of the Ghilji or other Pashtun groups, studies generally suggest that the genetic influence from Turkic populations is relatively minor. The majority of Pashtun genetic heritage, particularly for the Ghilji, is primarily derived from ancient Iranian and South Asian, meaning Indo-Aryan populations, with a small admixture from Central Asian and Turkic groups over the centuries due to historical invasions, migrations, and ruling dynasties. Estimates for the Turkic genetic contribution in Pashtuns are hard to pinpoint, but it's likely to be in the low single digits for most Pashtun tribes, including the Ghilji. The dominant ancestral influence is still Indo-Aryan and Iranian. Turkic ancestry in Ghilji Pashtuns is relatively minor and is more of a historical interaction rather than a significant genetic component. I'm cautious about using a specific percentage unless I have a precise study to reference, as the numbers can vary depending on the methodology and population samples used in the genetic research. For a more precise understanding of the genetic makeup of the Ghilji and other Pashtun groups, I recommend looking into peer-reviewed genetic studies, as the percentages of Turkic, Iranian, or South Asian ancestry can vary depending on the research. I hope that answers the question. Grok assisted me with the illustrations of this video, and this is where I end my dissertation. Thank you for watching.